on my head and kill me. Because the man with the money and the power. What are you going to turn you against me? That's it.
All people died in these waters. We deserve.
On a peaceful protest, just to swim. It is only to swim, and many of us can't swim. We're just going to dip in the water and walk on the sand.
They shouldn't be welcomed as leaders of the country, as representatives of the head of state. How these two young white people now going to be here saying we are going to kowtow to them and we are going to bend and bow and kneel to them as if they are gods. Those days are done. The monarchy is a relic. We should leave it behind. It's time for us to move forward and talk about the democratic process.
Rehabilitation works and was expected to reopen after 2 months. But now the people are concerned that the facility could soon be privatized, as they are yet to receive any updates on the progress of ongoing works.
NEPA is in charge of protecting the environment, but they are in the Ministry of Job Creation and Economic Growth. So what do you think is going to happen? They're going to trample on the rights of the people for profit.
Access to the road leading to the property has also been restricted, which for the people constitutes a breach of their rights.
This is a parish council road. Right. They have no legal right to block it up.
Yes! Yes, you're right.
It's a free access to the beach since we can visit our own beach.
This is made up.
This is totally wrong.
The people marched to the property to demand answers, but were restricted by iron barriers and a team of police personnel. And this was enough to add fuel to their fire.
So the question we must ask ourselves, where do we stand in this nation when the police is being sent out against us? We come in the name of Queen Nanny of the Maroons. We come in the name of Queen Nanny of the Maroons.
Said that after 8 months, the attraction.
Alright, welcome back to SoFlo TV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. Listen, while the Prime Minister of Jamaica is somewhere in the United States of America collecting an honorary degree and giving a keynote speech, I believe it's at Delaware University or somewhere like that, I choose more to focus on the recent protest that took place. It says that members of the Jamaica Diaspora on Friday held a demonstration and counter-protest on the streets in front of the Jamaica Consulate in Manhattan, New York. One demonstration was organized by the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force that was led by Dr. Rupert Francis and Wilfred Rattigan. Listen, the media in Jamaica was trying to downplay this, saying that, only about 80 people showed up, and of the 80 people that showed up, there were 12 on the other side and 80 on one side. You can see by the video that it was more than 80 people there. Why the need to downplay it, to make it seem as if, it is so insignificant that barely anybody showed up? Yes, there could have been more people that showed up, but this video right here is a little bit of beat and teach. Alright, so for the longest, I have tried to get the Jamaican people who are living outside of Jamaica to understand how powerful they are. We've been told many times over by people who live in Jamaica and who have never left Jamaica or spend the greater deal of each year of their life in Jamaica, even though they might travel, that those of us who live outside of Jamaica have no right to speak about what is going on in Jamaica. You see the conundrum? You see the foolishness? Right. So I've been beating my brows trying to get my Jamaican people to understand that the most powerful group of Jamaicans are actually the group of Jamaicans who live outside of Jamaica. Quiet as kept. An education moment for many. Today you might have just found out that there are more Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica in other countries around the world than there are actual Jamaicans living in Jamaica. Now I want you to repeat this to yourself, and I want you to say it again. There are more Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica in other countries around the world than there are Jamaicans living in Jamaica. This is what makes them very powerful. Their remittance dollars is what makes them powerful. Remittance dollars means monies that are sent in cash, Western Union, MoneyGram, whatever ways you send cash, dollars, money, transfers, bank-to-bank transfers, looking after their family members and friends, and those funneling their income from overseas to invest in Jamaica by purchasing property and opening businesses, etc., etc. They are in a position of power in comparison to the Jamaicans that live in Jamaica. Now, please don't take this as a competition thing, because I don't want anybody to feel like I am pitting Jamaicans who live outside of Jamaica against Jamaicans who live inside of Jamaica. Quite to the contrary. My goal is to unite Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica with Jamaicans living inside of Jamaica, so them can stop call we foreigner, so they can stop looking at us as strange people and tourists, so we can work together to establish what will become a better Jamaica, not just for now, but for future generations to come. Now, this particular demonstration that was held in New York City recently, it was about violence, and it was about the climate of violence in Jamaica. Now, somebody might say, why are they so concerned about Jamaica if they don't live in Jamaica, especially when it comes to violence? Well, let me give you a little idea why. A lot of Jamaicans that left Jamaica for a better life. So a lot of people went off into the world, into countries whose money is worth a lot more than Jamaican money, into countries that had more opportunities to offer than Jamaica had to offer, but they never turned their backs on Jamaica. Most Jamaicans that leave Jamaica, their dream is to make it back to Jamaica one day after they had established themselves, full up a bank account somewhere, made enough money to be able to help not just themselves but others around them, and gain some expertise that they can teach as well along the way. So people have gone off to different trade schools, got their certifications. People have gone off to different colleges and universities and gotten their degrees, from lower level degrees all the way up to a doctorate degree, etc., etc., and has accomplished great things. People from Jamaica are now serving in every facet of life in, say, the United States of America, for example, where you have Jamaicans who are mayors of cities. You have Jamaicans who are CEOs of multi-million and billion-dollar companies. You have Jamaicans who are entrepreneurs who started a business from scratch and are now multi-millionaires in the United States of America and other countries in the world. And these Jamaicans all share something in common. Guess what it is? It relates to this protest. It's the great fear of returning to their homeland, Jamaica, with all good intentions to build up a trade school, to open up something where the youths in communities can vibe and come, a computer center, and learn. And then you are targeted. And then somebody say, yo, you know, say, him just come from foreign. Yeah, man, you know, say, there's something when him build up over there, so, and the business when him up and down there, so. And then next thing you know, you are extorted, and you are robbed, and you are, God forbid, murdered. You know, those situations. So with the crime wave and the murder rate at the level that it is, and Jamaica being a place where we can clearly see that gangs are more in control than law enforcement is. Shout out to the law enforcement officials. Wanna get basket for carry water, Because let's take, for instance, the influx and the inflow of guns. Jamaica doesn't have any gun factories, yet Jamaica is loaded with guns. And guess who always has guns? The criminals. But then you have the FLA in Jamaica, who is very biased at how they give out the right to bear arms to the citizens, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. So most of them are left at the mercy of armed gunmen who, in many cases, are not afraid to confront even law enforcement officials. It's a scary look for somebody who is looking to return home, to invest their monies they've made over the years, and to lend their expertise to the next generation coming up to make Jamaica a better place for now and for the future. This is one of the things that has been crippling Jamaica, because a lot of people who are highly...
Jamaica, the land of reggae and sunshine, is facing a crisis. Young Jamaicans are taking to the streets, their voices filled with anger and frustration. They are protesting against their government, led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness. These protests are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of deep-rooted problems that have plagued Jamaica for decades. From soaring unemployment to rampant crime and a pervasive sense of hopelessness, young people feel let down by the system. This discontent is not just a domestic issue. The international community is watching, and concerns are growing about the Jamaican government's handling of these protests and the underlying issues they represent. This is a story about a generation that refuses to be silenced. It is a story about the fight for a better future, a future where the promises of equality and opportunity are finally realized. To understand the anger on the streets of Jamaica today, we must journey back in time. Jamaica's history is scarred by colonialism, a period of exploitation that has left deep wounds on the nation's psyche. For centuries, Jamaica was a British colony, its people treated as second-class citizens in their own land. The island's resources were plundered, its economy structured to benefit the colonizers, not the colonized. This legacy of exploitation did not disappear with independence in 1962. Jamaica inherited a system rigged against the masses, with wealth concentrated in the hands of a privileged few. The echoes of this colonial past reverberate through Jamaica's present, fueling the anger and resentment that boils over in these protests. The youth of Jamaica are demanding more than just empty promises. They are demanding justice for the sins of the past and a future free from the shackles of history. The anger of Jamaica's youth is palpable. They look around and see a country grappling with a multitude of problems. Unemployment is sky high, especially among young people. Those lucky enough to find jobs often face low wages and precarious working conditions. Crime casts a long shadow over Jamaican society. Gangs rule the streets, their influence extending far beyond the ghetto walls. Violence is a daily reality for many, and the government seems unable or unwilling to stem the tide. Basic services like healthcare and education are crumbling. Hospitals lack essential supplies, and schools struggle to provide quality education. The promises of a better life, whispered by politicians year after year, ring hollow in the ears of a generation that has grown tired of waiting. This is the reality for many young Jamaicans, a reality far removed from the idyllic images often portrayed in tourist brochures. It is a reality that breeds frustration, despair, and ultimately anger. Let's talk numbers, because numbers don't lie. Jamaica's youth unemployment rate is staggering. Imagine being a young person full of dreams and aspirations, only to graduate into a job market that offers little to no opportunity. This is the harsh reality for countless young Jamaicans. They are told to get an education, to work hard, but the jobs simply aren't there. And for those who do find work, it's often low-paying and insecure, offering little chance of escaping the cycle of poverty. The tourism industry, while a significant contributor to Jamaica's economy, often traps young people in low-wage, dead-end jobs. The glamorous image of paradise hides the harsh reality of exploitation and limited opportunities. The government's efforts to address youth unemployment have been inadequate at best. Without a real plan to create decent jobs and empower young people, the frustration and anger will only continue to grow. Section 5. Under the surface, corruption and broken trust. It's not just the lack of jobs that has fueled the flames of discontent. Corruption, like a cancer, has eaten away at the trust between the government and its people. Scandals involving government officials misusing public funds are all too common. These acts of corruption hit close to home for ordinary Jamaicans. They see their hard-earned tax dollars lining the pockets of corrupt officials while essential services crumble around them. This culture of impunity breeds cynicism and distrust. Young people in particular feel that the system is rigged against them, that their voices don't matter, and that their futures are being stolen. The government's response to these allegations of corruption has often been met with skepticism. The demand for accountability and transparency is growing louder by the day. Section 6. Living in fear, crime, violence, and government inaction. The statistics are chilling. Jamaica has one of the highest murder rates in the world. Behind these numbers are real lives lost, families torn apart, and communities living in fear. Gangs wield significant power in Jamaica, their influence extending far beyond the ghettos. They are involved in drug trafficking, extortion, and violence, holding entire communities hostage. The government's response to this crime wave has often been heavy-handed, relying on militarized policing tactics that disproportionately target young men from marginalized communities. These tactics have done little to address the root causes of crime, such as poverty, lack of opportunities, and the proliferation of illegal firearms. Young people are caught in the crossfire, both as victims and perpetrators of violence. They are demanding action, not just words, from a government that seems unable or unwilling to protect them. Section 7. A generation ignored, inadequate social services and alienation. The anger on the streets of Jamaica is not just about the lack of jobs or the fear of violence. It runs deeper, touching the very core of their existence and daily struggles. It's about a system that has failed to provide for its people, a system that has left an entire generation feeling ignored and abandoned. The infrastructure crumbles, and the hope for a better future fades. Healthcare in Jamaica is in crisis, a dire situation that affects every aspect of life. Hospitals are overcrowded and understaffed, lacking essential equipment and medication. The medical staff is stretched thin, struggling to meet the overwhelming demand. Access to quality healthcare is a luxury many cannot afford. The disparity in healthcare services is stark and troubling. The education system, once a source of pride for Jamaica, is struggling to keep up with the needs of a changing world. The schools are in disrepair and the resources are scarce. Schools are underfunded, teachers are overworked and underpaid, and the quality of education varies greatly depending on where you live. This inconsistency creates a gap in learning and opportunities. This lack of investment in social services has a devastating impact on young people. They are left to fend for themselves in a world that seems to have forgotten them. It robs them of opportunities, limits their potential, and perpetuates the cycle of poverty and inequality. The dreams of many are shattered before they even begin. It's no wonder they feel angry and betrayed. Their voices echo the pain of a generation left behind, demanding change and recognition. Section 8. Wholeness under fire, domestic and international criticism mounts. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is facing a crisis of legitimacy, with mounting pressure from both domestic and international fronts. The protests rocking Jamaica are a clear sign that many, especially among the younger generation, feel that his government is out of touch and unresponsive to their needs. These young voices are demanding change, and their frustration is palpable. Domestically, Wholeness has been criticised for his handling of the economy, which many argue has not seen the promised improvements. His failure to address crime has only added to the public's discontent, with rising violence and insecurity plaguing communities. Additionally, his perceived indifference to the plight of the poor and marginalized has further alienated a significant portion of the population. His close ties to big business and his government's austerity measures have fueled accusations that he is more interested in protecting the interests of the wealthy than in uplifting the poor. This has led to a growing divide between the rich and the poor. Internationally, there are concerns about Jamaica's human rights record, with reports highlighting abuses and violations. Particularly troubling are the government's heavy-handed tactics in dealing with protesters, which have drawn widespread condemnation. The failure to address extrajudicial killings by security forces has only intensified these criticisms, painting a grim picture of the state's response to dissent. Jamaica's dependence on foreign aid and its close relationship with the United States have also drawn scrutiny, raising questions about the nation's sovereignty and independence. Wholeness is at a crossroads, facing a pivotal moment in his leadership. He can choose to ignore the growing chorus of dissent, risking further unrest and instability, or he can listen to the voices on the streets and take concrete steps to address the legitimate grievances of the Jamaican people. The path he chooses will define his legacy and the future of Jamaica. Section 9, charting a new course, a call for change and hope. The protests in Jamaica are a wake-up call, a stark reminder that a system built on inequality and injustice cannot stand. The voices of the youth are rising, echoing through the streets, demanding a future where fairness and equality are not just dreams, but realities. The youth of Jamaica are demanding change, and their voices deserve to be heard. They are the heartbeat of a nation yearning for transformation, a generation that refuses to be silenced. What Jamaica needs is a new social contract, one that prioritizes the needs of the many over the greed of the few. This contract must be built on the pillars of justice, equality, and opportunity for all, a contract that guarantees quality education and healthcare for all, regardless of their background. Every child deserves the chance to learn and grow, every person the right to health and well-being. Jamaica needs leaders who are committed to tackling corruption and impunity, who understand that true progress can only be achieved when everyone has a fair shot. Leaders who will stand up for the people, not just the powerful. Leaders who will invest in creating decent jobs and empowering young people to reach their full potential. Opportunities must be created, not just for survival, but for thriving. The road ahead will not be easy, but the spirit of resistance and resilience that burns bright in the hearts of Jamaica's youth offers a glimmer of hope. Their determination is a beacon, lighting the way forward. The fight for a more just and equitable Jamaica is a fight worth fighting, a fight that demands the attention and support of the world. Together we can build a future where everyone has the chance to succeed.